The Difficult Question program is on the air. Our guest is Azadlig newspaper editor-in-chief, Qanimat Zahid. Welcome to our studio. Thank you. Today's subject is related to the problems of Azadlig newspaper and critical media. The editorial office of your newspaper is situated in the Azerbaijan Publishing House. The Azerbaijan Publishing House operates under the command of the President's Affairs Office. Is it right to finance such a publishing house from the state budget? Generally, why isn't the publishing house privatized? What's the reason for this? I don't know the reason for this. However, I know that a decision was issued regarding the privatization of this building in 2008. This process allegedly should end by the end of this year. However, I believe that this is abnormal. Head of Affairs Office of the President keeps this institution that's operating on the basis of commerce in his balance. Let's move on to our main topic. Your problem was solved. Azadlig newspaper restored its operation one day after break. Generally, what's your problem? Why don't you pay debts? What's the reason for it? This problem is related to debt, but this debt is not debt of recent times. This debt was gathered between the years 2000 and 2005. However, we have been paying more money than the money we should pay now to cover our old debts. This process continued firmly. However, when money that was allocated to newspapers and especially to Azadlig from the state budget was identified, the leadership of the publishing house demanded that we pay everything right away. However, the money had not reached our account when this demand was put forth. This was one-time assistance given by the President for National Press Day. Will this pay your debts? Some press organs shared this amount among journalists. What will be the reward for journalists? No, it will not pay for our debts. We are sharing most of this amount with our journalists because it was given for the holiday. The rest of it will be given to the implementation of other projects. We have debts, but there are some that are owed to us. For instance, broadcasting companies owe us. We do not boycott them and do not deny a real partnership with them. In Azerbaijan reality, we adhere to a more civilized partnership. Azadlig newspaper has taken the path of critical press since its creation. What's your main problem as a critical press? Criticism, pressure, arrests, or what? All of our problems are obvious. I don't want any press organ to face the ethics that Azadlig newspaper did since its operation. We have been under the pressure of the most difficult problems, and as you can see, we still face these issues. This can be called a financial problem or a debt problem, but in fact this is the problem created by the anomaly of the situation in the country. There is no advertisement market in the country. The Azerbaijan population is made up of social stratas that have no purchasing power. A big part of the country's population remains without information because of the lack of the advertisement market. It is the duty of this country's government to make the Azerbaijan population active so they can buy newspapers and other goods. The Azerbaijan government is to blame for this situation in the country. How many journalists were arrested and subjected to harassment recently? How were trials conducted? Were people who used pressure against you brought to justice? We can talk about this a lot. But I don't want to exhaust people with lots of statistics. However, everyone can recall incidents that happened to Azadlig newspaper after 2005. I would like to recall them once again. For instance, Qanimat Zahid was arrested. The newspaper's employer, Qanimat was beaten deadly and thrown on the road, and his colleague Khalil was blackmailed by law enforcement bodies and was forced out of the country. And finally, I was arrested through blackmail and slander organized by the government. However, there are some harassment cases that turned into our life norms. This is bad. We use statistics for big tragedies, but do not consider them for small cases of interference in our work. Harassment and arrests. Do these issues create self-censorship in the newspaper? In general, how do you solve censorship issues in the newspaper? No. If there was internal censorship, there wouldn't be arrests afterwards. We do not allow internal censorship in our work. We believe we are on the right path, and it's our duty to form public opinion about corruption in the country. and we believe that we will carry out this mission to the end. This is the year of elections. What do you expect from these elections? Do you think there will be persecution and harassment against press? How do you see press and government relations during these elections?
Hökumət münasibətləri bu seçkilərdə necə nizamlanacaq, necə görürsünüz? İndi mən belə müşahidə edirəm ki, bizim hökumət
I know from my observations that our government is creating new technologies in relation to the press. It violates the fundamental freedom of speech. In general, I do not expect anything from the elections. I do not expect positive results from the elections. Nor do I think that the government will be less aggressive towards the press in the election process. Everything will be the same, because the government, its psychology and the government officials have not changed. You were arrested after the past elections and were released recently, but there are journalists and bloggers in prison. Do you hope that they will be freed before these elections? Not all of them, but someone might be released. I assume that they will not all be freed. In fact, I don't see this simply as a journalist arrest. Somehow, Azerbaijani society is patient and tolerant of the fact that there are political prisoners in the country. There are 30 political prisoners in this country, and even more according to several lists. If there are 30 political prisoners in a country, it's no doubt that there should be some journalists among them. I believe the society and different public unions should fight for the release of the political prisoners. Then we can say with assurance that certain journalists will be released, some will remain in prison, or no journalists will be imprisoned. On 26 November 2006, Azadlig newspaper was chased out of its building, and you filed a lawsuit regarding this issue because both Azadlig newspaper and other organizations were thrown out due to a decision of the Economic Court. Did you appeal to the European Court of Human Rights? Yes, I have talked to the lawyers regarding this issue. Our case has been accepted for consideration. I believe they will consider this case soon, in a year or two maybe. Why doesn't your newspaper have advertisements? What is the reason? The reason is we are not allocated advertisements. It has been prohibited. I recall up until the year 2000, Azadlig newspaper had more than 100 advertisement partners. Later, the late Heydar Aliyev realized that allocating advertisements to newspapers is a mechanism to strengthen free press. Therefore, allocating advertisements to newspapers was banned when Heydar Aliyev was still alive, and Ilham Aliyev continues on his father's past. What kind of a role do the Press Council and the State Support Fund to mass media under the President play in solving problems of the media? How do you evaluate these, and where do you see the solution to these problems? What needs to be done by the government and by the people and public unions to solve the problems in the media? The State Secretary was asked by the State Department and US Senate to be concerned regarding Azerbaijan press. Azerbaijan has an authoritarian regime, and this is where the root of our problems lies. Our journalism can realize this reality to choose or create certain priorities to fight. The Press Council is a clear issue. It's a joint project created by the government with some circles. The State Support Fund to the mass media was created directly by the government, which founded this authoritarian regime. I believe to solve these issues, we should have continuous new public initiatives and new public unions should emerge. If these initiatives are sustainable, we will be able to achieve something. And these initiatives should not be in the media sector only, but in every corner where social-political activity is demanded. If we trust our faith to certain public unions, those public unions will turn into something access to the current authoritarian regime. In a society where public supervision is not used, people regress. Thank you for coming to our studio. Thank you.
Sağ olun.